Diamonds in the rough. NFL Draft Diamonds. Time to shine.
Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds, and we are the scouting staff for the Hula Bowl. This interview is sponsored by Carl Black Orlando, Orlando's premier Chevy, Buick, and GMC dealership. They offer an extensive inventory of new and pre-owned vehicles. Stop by today just off of East Colonial Drive. Today I have with me Tyler Hudson. He's a wide receiver out of Louisville, formerly of Central Arkansas. Nice to have you with us, sir.
Nice to be here.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously a guy who's played for a couple different institutions, found a lot of success. But before we get rolling with that conversation, set the stage, man. Tell me where you're from and walk me through a little bit of this journey.
I come from Spring, Texas, north side of Houston. I went to Klein Oak High School. I played there on varsity for 3 years. And then I got my offer to University of Central Arkansas, I think January of that senior year. So, yeah. And then, I did my thing in college. So, yeah.
No, I get you. So you found your way there to Central Arkansas. Obviously, as a guy there in the FCS, really doing some fantastic things. I mean, you were named an All-American, I guess a couple times over at the very least, and then decided to move forward to the bigger ranks, getting into the ACC with Louisville Cardinals. So a little bit of that transition there. How did that transfer happen for you? Is it because of COVID? Was it something else? Like, how did that work out for you?
Well, I got my evaluation from the NFL from like several different scouts, and they were all saying that either I had one that said fourth round if I tested really well, if I came out like after my junior season. The rest of them were saying sixth, seventh free agency, and a couple of them were saying that I had nothing else to prove on that level. But I didn't understand why I'd be sixth, seventh round to free agency, even though I was killing it on the FCS level. So, and then you had another All-American on the other side of me that ended up leaving. He went to the draft. Quarterback went to the draft. So it's kind of like, do I stay and risk playing with a quarterback I've never seen play in front of me? That I'm not gonna say it wasn't established, but like I just didn't know, if it was gonna be a good or bad season. And then, so I just decided, let me see what the portal does. And I got in the portal and I talked to a few teams. I ended up going to Louisville, where Malik Cunningham was a Heisman dark horse. So, and they didn't have a receiver that was over 500 yards, I believe, or right over 500 yards, because their leading receiver was a tight end. And I think their second leading receiver, it was actually a receiver. He went to Ole Miss. So I was like, okay, well, that sounds like a perfect opportunity for me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Malik Cunningham's an exciting player to watch for sure. If no one's ever watched them, they're definitely missing out. And like you said, I mean, maybe the chemistry wasn't going to be right. It could have been. It's hard to say, but I mean, obviously you decided to, put your name in the portal, and you got yourself to a pretty decent situation there for Louisville. This past season, going over 1,000 yards receiving. It's usually the mark for a lot of guys who obviously showing a whole lot of success as one of the favorite targets there for your quarterback. So let's backtrack a little bit, if you don't mind. So you said you went to high school in the state of Texas, where football is like a religion to most people. And then I know you participated in some other sports as well. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I played varsity basketball from my sophomore year to my senior year. And my junior year, we went to the playoffs the first time in about 30 years. And I ended up having like this huge dunk that went on ESPN and all that stuff. I was compared to Zion with the dunks of that week, and we ended up winning that game. So that was probably my biggest moment in basketball. So yeah.
Interesting. So, as a guy who used to play basketball, I mean, did that ever come into the picture as something that you might pursue? I mean, did you ever think about maybe getting into that, or was it always going to be football?
Yeah, I didn't decide if I was gonna play football or basketball until my senior year because I realized that I never went to a basketball camp because it's always during football season. So I could never go. So I was like, yeah, there's no reason for me to go pursue basketball all the way if I've never been to a camp and I don't have any offers. So I mean, I thought about trying to ask my coach if I go play basketball my freshman year. I thought about it, but I never asked him.
Well, hey, I mean, it's okay. I mean, oftentimes it don't work out anyways. So,
Yeah,
but that isn't to say that it wouldn't, but I'm just saying most coaches don't necessarily permit
yeah.
their players to do that. But
Oh,
certainly something that I feel uh, really helps a little bit as a guy who plays the receiver position. Would you concur? I mean, is there something maybe that you feel that you gained while participating in another sport?
yeah. Playing basketball definitely helped me with my body control and balance in the air and being able to go for a ball, like just like a rebound or alley oop or even a dunk. So, and that definitely translates.
Sure, and being able to showcase the your ups, throwing down some dunks for sure. Got a decent vertical to you, so as a receiver, certainly something that you need to go out there and display. So, um, obviously playing some other sports, but football is your thing, man. I mean, that's where you've seen the most success. Um, why football? Why do you love this game so much?
I don't know. I fell in love with it when I was little. My dad played at LSU, and it was easy to pick up on considering he played. So he always taught me play quarterback. So I love playing quarterback at the time, and then just watching players like Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Steve Smith, Randy Moss, just catching the ball, scoring touchdowns. That's kind of why I ended up really liking the transition to play receiver when I got to high school.
So you mentioned a lot of different receivers there, different body types and stuff too. So I mean, definitely Steve Smith is not Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, how would you define yourself, man? How do you what would you say is the type of receiver that team would be getting in you?
Well, Larry Fitzgerald would probably be my prototype in the sense of I don't drop the football. I catch the ball. I don't really have that many drops. I probably got more tackles than I do drops in my college career. So
You said more tackles than drops for real?
yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's a good thing there for sure, being a sure-handed guy. Um, so you see I mean, are you moved around a lot? I mean, like during your time, I mean, have you played the slot? I mean, you're a pretty decent sized guy, so I think most of the time you're going to be out there on the outside. But I mean, uh, just describe for me a little bit like how you've been utilized over the years.
My freshman year, I played majority outside. There'd be a few wrinkles where I go play like a tight end or I go play slot receiver just because like we're trying to make a mismatch. And then during COVID, my sophomore year, that's when because all our receivers were going down. So my coach was like, let's try you in the slot. Because I was going to probably playing slot if another receiver didn't get hurt my freshman year. But I would play then. I played slot and outside, and I was doing really, really well. So that just kind of rolled into the junior year. And junior year, I was playing outside and I was playing slot. And then this last year, when I transferred to Louisville, I played slot after the first day. I went and played slot because one of the receivers got hurt, and I was killing it at the slot receiver. So I was gonna be either an outside receiver or a slot receiver, and then somebody ended up leaving, so I had to play the outside spot the whole time.
Well, hey, I mean, having the ability to do that certainly helps. Other thing I was going to kind of ask you is a guy who has lined up, all over a little bit. Uh, what's that one favorite route that when you hear it called in the huddle, you're just kind of licking your chops? that you're just, happy to have that moment? What's that one route for you?
Go.
There you
And
go.
if not that,
If you're a receiver, everyone's going to say that. So
yeah, if it's not the go, it's definitely the dig. So
gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, that's fine there for sure. I mean, obviously a guy who I know I've seen run a lot of different routes. So you're not obviously limited to just, hey, Tyler, just go out there and give it your all, try and get in the end zone. I know that you're a guy who can do that, can run a lot of different routes there for sure, run some fade, some dig, all those other things in between there for sure. So um uh playing at Central Arkansas as well as Louisville, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're also a part of a couple different offenses. And they each in themselves had a little bit of wrinkles. How would you describe those differences in those two offenses and how maybe you were utilized differently in those two situations?
so at Central Arkansas, I mean the offense was pretty balanced, or at least it tried to be the first 2 years. Just because we had a good running back, had a good line, and then me and Lawan were on either side, so you can't double team. And then sophomore year kind of came a little bit more pass heavy, and my junior year was pretty much balanced again because we had a freshman All American running back on top of two All American receivers. So I mean, it was pretty balanced. I'd say maybe more of like a West Coast type deal. And then I got to Louisville, and it was more of like a run and shoot, having one guy be in the boundary, running whatever 10 to 15 yard route, and guy on the other side taking the top off the defense. So and a lot of running.
So, quarterback situation a little different. I mean, when I think of Malik Cunningham, I mean, I think of a guy who can take off, at a moment's notice and get down the field like with his legs. And so when you have a guy who can extend the play, like, how does that, like, in the back of your mind work, like as a receiver, for you, like where you're out there like running a route, like knowing that your guy is uh as athletic as Malik is.
I mean, you run your route just like any other play, but you never know if he's going to take off or not. And when he does take off, you kind of sit there like, dang, he's gone. Or you turn around, depending on if he's on your side or not, you're like, oh, let me go block. So I know it's kind of just turn around and you just don't know what's going to happen at most of the time. So.
Sure. Well, kind of what I'm alluding to is when he is on your side, I mean, are you comfortable out there as a blocker? I mean, I think from what I gather is, hey man, like it or not, some dudes that play wide receiver, they're straight divas, man. Like that's you know, that's the way they're portrayed to the public at the very least, because they always want the ball, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that stigma about that wide receiver position? I mean, is that something that you, I don't know, just kind of give me a little bit of like your response to that.
I mean, yeah, I see why people call receivers divas. Like if you just look over the years and how some of us react to certain things. But I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a diva. I mean, if Malik runs my way, turn around and go block somebody. If the running back runs my way, I turn around and go block somebody. If a receiver has a ball running my way, I'm gonna go block somebody. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, dang, I should have got the ball wide open, blah blah blah. I mean, you don't even watch the second game when we played UCF in Orlando, and he ran for like a 60-yard touchdown. I ran my dude off and then blocked him out of bounds, lead blocking for 60-some yard touchdown. So, I mean, I can do that.
Well, hey, and again, we were talking about some of the guys that you want to emulate, thinking about guys like Larry Fitzgerald, which, dude, to me is a class act. I mean, he is the kind of guy who, yeah, he can be a go-to target, has been, good quality hands, but has good head on his shoulders, is a team first guy, like all the time off the field. He's also a fantastic dude. So like, if that's the guy that you want to try to emulate, then, so be it, man. Totally not a diva in my mind. So, so Talk to me about some of your most memorable moments from maybe each of the institutions that you've been a part of. I mean, are there some games or maybe even a particular play, some of which we've already shared, that's been like maybe your biggest highlights?
Let's see, my freshman year, my first game, obviously scored my first touchdown in college, and we ended up winning that game. I'd probably say into my freshman year, not trying to sound bad, but when Lawan got hurt, I started getting the ball more, and I ended up going for like 600 yards and like 6 touchdowns in 3 games. So that was pretty memorable. And then with my junior year, went for 181 and 2 touchdowns against the #1 team in the country. That same year, we played Eastern Kentucky. I went for 251 yards and a touchdown. And then this year, when we played JMU, went for 142 and a touchdown. And then the very next week, I went for 163. Should have had 178 in the touchdown, but they wanted to say I had pass interference and the dude tripped over my leg. But it is what it is.
Well, hey, man, all those things are in the past. Obviously, some great moments there for sure. A lot of great gaudy numbers and some awards along the way, man. I mean, all American lists, all conference lists. Which of those accomplishments do you really, I don't know, like the most whenever people talk about some of those things that you've been able to do?
My freshman year, freshman player of the year, and then first team All American my freshman year. My conference player of the year, my sophomore and junior year in 2 different conferences, and I was also like preseason player of the year before those seasons. So that was pretty cool to have them think that I was going to be the player of the year and then actually doing it throughout the season. And then being the 7th player in Louisville history to go for 1,000 yards at receiver. So, yeah.
Well, sweet, man. I mean, obviously amongst some great ones there, you know, for that achievement for sure. And some great accomplishments, man. I mean, your resume looks great. Which is one of the reasons why we decided to invite you to the Hula Bowl. So you'll be able to come down and you know, showcase that, you know, your talents. How is all of this working with your mental, man? Like when you think about like all of a sudden now your NFL prospect could be one of these guys that gets drafted. How are you taking it right now? I mean, are you taking it in stride? Are you stressing out? I mean, what's going on with you?
No, I ain't stressing now because I know what I'm capable of. I mean, I just set the school career receiving record and single season record at UCA in one season. And I just went for 1,000 yards in the Power Five, and there were big question marks going into this season. Was can I run and could I play on this level? And I proved that I can play on this level. I still got to go prove that I can run in my pro day. So, I mean, I'm not really worried about it. I got 2-3 months to showcase what I can do after the season going into this process. So I'm not stressing about it. I'm pretty excited about it, to be honest.
So other than coming to our All-Star event, do you have other things planned? Like, are you with a particular facility or anything, or a trainer, you know, that's trying to help you prepare for your pro day? I mean, what's that situation like right now?
So I train in Fort Worth, just outside of Dallas, about 3 hours away from my house. So that's where I train at, and I start training with David Robinson, a receiver, outside receiver specialist. So yeah.
Cool. Well, hey man, I mean, as we almost wrap up, I do want to take one moment to I don't know, talk about something that's not football related for like just a couple minutes. Tell me about who Tyler Hudson is, man. What are you into? Any personal hobbies or passions or anything interesting about you other than football, for some fans who may just want to know a little tidbit about you. So give me something interesting.
Okay. Well, I like to cook. I like to learn how to cook and make new things. That's one of my things I like to do. I like to play video games with my friends, just like anybody else.
Sure. We all get into that sort of thing. As a cook, man, what's that one dish that like, you feel like you make the best?
Mm, I'd probably say any breakfast food, to be honest. Like I just love breakfast. I love breakfast. So I can cook anything for breakfast.
So like waffles or something? Like we'll just like
Yeah, like any type of egg, bacon, sausage, make biscuit sandwiches. The only thing I'm somewhat okay at is making pancakes. Waffles is easy. Just like creating stuff. Like I create stuff just to see what it looks like or what it tastes like. I just like play around, see what I can make.
definitely a whole
But
lot of different kinds of omelets that you can throw
yeah,
together for
and I
sure.
got
So
I got really good at omelets this past semester at Louisville. So like I had players asking for a plate a couple of times when I bring it up to the stadium, but I'll be like, no, because I'm not I'm not doing that.
well, hey, it's all right. A couple of different questions that are maybe not football related, just to dig a little deeper. What were you able to accomplish as a student? What did you ultimately get your degrees in?
I actually didn't get to finish my degree because what I do. I transferred one, so credits didn't transfer over, and then I switched my major my sophomore year. So because I wanted to do something that I'd probably be able to do after football or even during football. So I didn't get to finish my degree,
And so,
but
what are your what's your education generally? What's your
it,
major and stuff now?
it was entrepreneurship at UCA, and then when I transferred, it became business management.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming the goal is to accomplish that here soon.
Yeah.
Maybe sometime later down the line. So let me think of some other things since that one didn't really work out too well for me.
I mean, I can
Uh,
tell you what I'm gonna do with it if
yeah,
you want
go
me.
for it. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. So when I get my degree, and maybe I'm hoping that either at the end of my career, middle of my career, or end of my career, like actually when it's over and I retire, I want to build my own facility and make it to where I could have kids come out and play just after school, like have like a daycare. I could have tournaments held at the facility, and we can also have just people who just want to come work out and get fit, And then we also train professional athletes at the facility. So that's kind of what I want to do.
Gotcha. A couple other things, just to throw them out there real quick. Maybe one word answer, whatever. Favorite movie?
Avatar.
Avatar, the recent one, or
Yes. Yes.
okay.
Both of them. Yes.
All right. So that's good. Have you ever thought about like favorite like vehicle? Like if you had like the money obviously to do so, have you ever thought about like what vehicle would be like your dream car?
Growing up, Lamborghini or the Dodge Viper. Um, Now I'm
Okay.
thinking of like a souped up like Cadillac or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then again, talk to me about your hometown. You said you're from outside of Houston. If I were to come visit you in your hometown, tell me like maybe one little hot spot or something out there that maybe we can go to.
Mm, there's so many good food places over there. That's just one thing I missed about Texas when I was in school. You can eat good anywhere. There's not just one spot. You can literally go anywhere.
Gotcha. So like it like Tex-Mex cuisine, or what's your
Yeah, you can do Tex-Mex, chicken, obviously.
all right. Well, I can certainly roll with that for sure. So appreciate that one. Anything else you want to add, man? I mean, I'm just kind of opening it up to like whatever you want to add about yourself. Are we pretty much wrapped up with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have nothing else to say about myself, but I just like to say thank you to all my coaches, from growing up all the way up till now. It's helped me a lot along the way. And I appreciate every word of advice you gave me. I've used it to my advantage the last 4 years. So I just want to say thank you.
Awesome. And then of course, man, you're going to be able to, come down to Orlando and meet all 32 teams in the NFL and other scouts as well, and going to get a chance to meet with all of them in several interviews. But maybe for some of those who you don't sit down with, I want you to get an opportunity just to talk to them right now and give them your pitch. Tell them why you need to be drafted and brought into their franchise, and what you'd be a good asset to their team. So go ahead and hit them with your pitch.
Okay. My pitch would be that I'm probably the most consistent receiver in this draft class. And if I were to win next year's draft class, I've been most consistent in that draft class or last year's draft class. So most consistent receiver. And I don't drop anything. I do what I'm supposed to do. Make spectacular catches, and that's all you need for a receiver. He can block. So, yeah.
Well, hey, that's really all you need, right? I mean, a good, complete receiver who's not selfish, willing to do the dirty work, very sure-handed, good quality size, and a guy that you can count on, day in and day out. So, Tyler, this has been great. Do appreciate your time, and wish you very best of luck in this process. And excited to see you come down to the Hula Bowl next week, January 14th. So people can come out and watch you. So thanks for the interview, buddy.
Thank you.
Sure. Once again, Tyler Hudson, wide receiver, Louisville. Definitely check him out.